So Forest are set to go back in for Douglas Luiz again after he rejected them in January. Can they get this one over the line? Welcome to your latest Forest transfer news. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to your latest Forest news. Coming up, I'll give you all the details on Douglas Luiz. Remember him from January, and I'll break down exactly what's happening. And there are some positive sounds coming out on this one. If you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you are new here. If you'd like to grab me a coffee, you can scan this QR code or click on the link in the comments. All right, let's get into this because this is a bit of a controversial one. I remember we first brought this to you in the January transfer window about how Forest were chasing Douglas Luiz, the ex-Aston Villa player currently at Juventus, and can't get a sniff. I think he's only started like 2 or 3 games for them. And his frustration is increasingly growing with the lack of game time that he is getting. Juventus bought him for around 50 million euros from Aston Villa, and he just hasn't really made the cut for them there at all. Currently 26, about to turn 27, still in the prime of his footballing career. This guy is absolute quality. But when you speak to Villa fans, you do get mixed reports. Some say he's brilliant. Some say he's brilliant, but his attitude stunk. Some say all kinds of, you just can't get a consistent answer from my Villa mates. But anyway, let's bring you up to speed. So, for those of you who forgot, Forest went in for Douglas Luiz in the January transfer window, but they were the only ones, it's being revealed now, who actually officially approached him. There was feelers coming from clubs and what have you. And if you remember, Douglas Luiz did not want to join Forest because he was holding out for a Manchester United or a Manchester City type of club. Well, those clubs never came knocking, and Manchester United are in a relegation fight. And now he's sitting there contemplating life, contemplating what he should and shouldn't do. Should he continue to fight for a place in Juventus? That seems like it's unlikely to happen. Or should he consider a move away? Well, if you believe the reports from Juventus' stance now, they are willing to listen to offers for him. Initially, they wanted to recoup all the money they got for him, which was about 50, well, as I said, about 50 million euros. But they've brought this down now and would probably be willing to do a deal around 40 million euros, which is about 36 million pounds. But on top of that, there are reports to suggest that they would be willing to look at a loan deal or a player swap deal. And the expectation is now that Forest will have another go at Douglas Luiz and see if they can bring him to the City ground. And guys, this is the kind of player we need. You guys know I'm not gonna do it now, but I've been moaning about midfield for the majority of the season. And this is a player who can play in the 6, he can play in the 8, he's Prem proven, he will probably bring his misses with him, that'll bring some great PR into the whole Forest arena. This is a very, very good signing for us. Now, I know I had some reservations about his attitude towards Forest in January, about how he almost belittled us talking about Manchester United, Manchester City, and all of this. But people can be humbled, and I think he's been humbled. I think he suddenly realized that he ain't that big dog he thought he was that could attract those so-called Cartel 6 clubs, and he's going to have to make his peace and decide to go for a bigger club like Forest. So I'm prepared to put all that animosity that I had aside towards his attitude towards Forest. And I believe that if he comes in, he will fall in love with the club, will fall in love with him, vice versa, and what have you. Some of you may fall in love, with his partner and whatever. It's all good vibes, I think, on this one. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day. I am at that stage with the midfield where bring me quality, even if that quality has attitude issues, and I'll take it. That's why I don't really care about Cunha and his attitude issues. I think he could do a great job for Forest, even though we're not really linked with him, nor have we ever been. So I think Douglas Luiz to Forest would be absolutely perfect. Now, in terms of this loan and player swap thing, and this is kind of the newer movement on this story, that's probably the better option, I think. Because if we could get him on loan with an option to buy, a try before you buy kind of scenario, I like that, because I think he would have to come into Forest to prove himself that he wants to play for Forest, that he can move us forward, that his attitude is in the right place, and he's almost fighting for a new contract with Forest. If we get Champions League, that's going to be appealing to him. So I think that's a good way to go about it. And I think Forest could probably agree an option to buy for, like, I don't know, 35 million, in and around that figure. But then there's this player swap deal. Now, we've heard a couple of rumours about Callum Hudson-Odoi and links to him to Italian clubs. There's a video out on Patreon, by the way, on that, on those rumours, so go check that out. But as they're thinking, who would they want if they lost Douglas Luiz in a player swap deal? And the only one that really springs to mind, and again, this is just me thinking about it, would be maybe a Dominguez, because I think he would fit into the Italian league. I think his style suits it there as well. And he isn't exactly game in, game out for Forest. And could that be one that would be used in a swap? I don't know. This is literally me just thinking out loud, so to speak. And I guess I'll pose that question to you guys. If Forest were going to do a swap deal for Douglas Luiz, player plus maybe a bit of cash, which player and which midfielder, more importantly, because this would probably be a midfield swap, would you guys be willing to let go? Would it be a Dominguez? Could it be a Sangare? That could be one. Clearly, he's not in Nuno's plans. Maybe Sangare going across to Juventus could be something we see in this deal, because I have a feeling that with the lack of game time he's had, he may be moved on this summer. And to bring in Douglas Luiz and send across Sangare, that could be an interesting proposal for all parties involved. So, how do you guys feel about that? Would you prefer that we retain the players and just make sure that we start to strengthen as we go forth, hopefully, for Champions League football? So, I don't know, get your thoughts in it as well. But in summary, I'm 100% for this Douglas Luiz deal. I think he is very good in the Premier League. He's exactly the player we need in that midfield. And by the way, he's not the only one we need. We don't just get Douglas Luiz and think, all right, that's it. Enough, job done. Let's move on. No, we've got to strengthen more than that. But get your thoughts in about it, because I want him now. And I think he fits us perfectly. If you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you're new as well. Don't forget there was a Grumpy Old Reds last night, so if you haven't seen that, I'll leave it on the end screen for you. And we'll be back tomorrow with the build-up and preview towards the big game against Brentford on Thursday. So we will see you then. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, and come on you Reds.